I need to talk to my customers. I have to have connectivity with my provider, with my internal stakeholder. I have to be completely transparent. I have to have collaborative conversation and workflow with them. And I have to have the right skill sets to be able to work in the framework of this environment to ensure it's successful.
When planning for an implementation of some form of technology, you also have to really pay attention to what the processes are. You can't just sort of fit every process that you currently have into the technology solution that you're going to be using.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Raindrop Think Tank series. I'm here with my good friend, Tracy Nickel from Beltrees Consulting and Ward Carson from Raindrop. Today's topic is going to be digital procurement advice to make it a successful transformation. So I think everybody wants to make sure that their initiatives are going to be successful. So I think this is going to be some good advice. All right, Tracy, I'm going to start with you. So in my mind, hindsight is 2020, and everybody's going to want to kind of get some advice of somebody that if you think, all right, if I only knew then what I know now, and when it comes to procurement transformations or any initiatives of this type, being kind of forewarned is forearmed. So I'd like to just kind of get your thoughts around this topic and kind of get some sage pearls of wisdom and advice that you would give to people that are taking on this journey.
Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Ward, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I've been through many implementations and procurement transformation efforts, and one of the biggest things that I feel that is lacking is making sure that there's plenty of change management activities throughout the implementation as well as throughout any kind of transformation efforts. Continued change management efforts are required to support ongoing transformation. And what's really important is that to understand that today's workforce spans across many generations, which causes change to be very scary for many of those people that are not quite as comfortable with technology. So this really needs to be addressed at the onset of any kind of transformation effort, realizing there's going to be a need for varying levels of communication, of training, and engagement required to achieve the desired end user adoption. So the end result of procurement technology implementation is not just to make work easier for procurement and accounts payable, but also for the end users. So improving on that end user experience for both internal users as well as suppliers is really what's going to help drive the adoption of technology and allow users to do their day job, because it's likely that most of their job descriptions doesn't include processing invoices or negotiating savings.
Oh, that makes sense. No, I think you're spot on. There's a lot of stakeholders are involved with this. So it's not just procurement, not just IT, not just finance. There's a lot of people in there, and you were spot on too with hey, we got to get the suppliers engaged with this as well as the business stakeholders. So there's a lot of constituents, that you've got to really think about how's this going to impact them and the change management that's going to be necessary to it.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So Ward, I would like to also kind of throw out there the getting executive buy-in. This is a hot topic as well. What, do you have any thoughts around how to get that hill covered?
Never shy of an opinion, Dave. Trust me. Of course I do. There are a couple of things, and not even talking about Raindrop for a second. It's really any project, and I would encourage anybody who's kind of thinking about undertaking change management, kind of to trace it to your point, which is everything's going to start with change management. How do I get buy-in? So I really kind of, before we started this, I threw down 5 different bullet points that will help anybody thinking about moving forward. How do I ensure success? Is the ideation and the design, the whole thinking of putting that together, the challenge of here's my problem statement, here's what I'm trying to solve for, and here's how I might go about doing it. And then I need to develop that vision, that how do I go about doing it? So my vision is that I have this existing environment. Here's the pain points I'm experiencing, and here's how I'm trying to solve for them. So that's kind of one of them. I need to understand who plays in this space. And I'm not just talking about enterprise spend management. Don't get me wrong, it's great. That's the space that we play in, the space that Beltrees plays in on deploying things and consulting and guidance. but I'm talking about really any technology package you're looking to move to. And then it's really the validation internally with your stakeholders. And Tracy, I think you were touching on this, is I want to make sure people buy in, right? Because you can put out the best piece of technology in the world. It's all about how nobody's consuming. And if that's the case, then, you've really had an expensive project that didn't really go anywhere, that probably won't be good for the career. And then the last one is really all about, I guess you can call it failing forward. So you're going to make mistakes. We all do. It's not a question whether or not you make the mistake, it's what you do about it. And so the question where I'm going to develop that capability to say, I made a mistake. Okay. I need to talk to my customers. I have to have connectivity with my provider, with my internal stakeholder. I have to be completely transparent. I have to have collaborative conversation and workflow with them. And I have to have the right skill sets to be able to work in the framework of this environment to ensure it's successful. So those are the kind of the 5 or more bullet points that I would think that I want to start, want to create a successful project. I want to get buy-in. I have to have a vision. I have to understand who plays in the space. And I have to roll it out successfully, and change management. And where I fail, that's okay, right? What do I do about it is the most important thing to get back on my feet.
Yeah, I think that's good advice there. So another topic in this area is kind of around process design. I mean, this does go with change management, but if you've got a windy dirt road and you just put down asphalt on it, you're going to bump into your problems faster. That's kind of the adage I've heard in this. And so I wanted to kind of think about it. It's like, all right, how much, process design and thought you should somebody really go into first, or are they going to learn on the fly as they go? What do you think, Tracy?
So that's a great point. And, when planning for an implementation of some form of technology, you also have to really pay attention to what the processes are. You can't just sort of fit every process that you currently have into the technology solution that you're going to be using. The whole goal is to become more efficient. And one of the things that we've always noticed is that although the fundamentals of procurement are the same across all industries, every organization has a little bit of uniqueness that's within their organization. So there's certain processes that have to be complied with, whether you're a public entity, you're a nonprofit entity, or if you're manufacturing. There's certain things that that go into that. So in order to make sure that the organization's unique requirements are addressed, it's important to incorporate an agile mindset from the beginning. So being flexible during the implementation will allow for the immediate priorities to be determined, and then pave the way to future improvements post-implementation. Really taking that first step is what the critical path is, and it's the catalyst to supporting the ongoing evolution of the procurement processes through automation and leading to a much better process and much more efficiencies.
That sounds great.
I think that actually you have to have on top of that, which I totally agree with, is it's the don't bite off more than you can chew syndrome, right?
Definitely.
So, hey, here's my pain point. I want to boil the ocean with a matchstick. So I'm going to go and do a project that's going to take too long. It's going to cost too much, because most projects overrun cost. And it results in too little impact. In other words, my internal stakeholders aren't buying in. That's a great piece of software, right? But no one's using it. I think a lot of that is, I'm going to buy this solution. I want to believe what it's going to do. And then I'm going to have to go and change order myself. And then I have to project manage that to success, to go ahead and get that where it doesn't take too long, where I can get people to buy in, where unfortunately it does cost too much. And I think that people have to go in from the beginning with that original mindset of, I have to create my ideation phase, validate it with my stakeholders, work with the Beltrees of the world to help deliver that successfully. And then the change management really is that critical piece to understand, I didn't sign up for more than I could, I didn't bite off more than I could chew. And I have kind of let's call it a guiding light to help bring me forward successfully through my project.
And one other thing that goes along with that is thinking about the end in mind. So organizations tend to implement without considering the processes and systems that have to be managed once their implementation partners go away. So it's really important to be able to set a governance structure at the beginning of the implementation, which allows for consistent maintenance of data, system upgrades, any kind of configuration changes, processes change over time, business changes over time. So they have to be able to plan for that in the future. And then they have to be able to enforce the governance process. So that way there aren't any unnecessary disruptions. The data remains clean throughout the integrated systems. So, with the ERP and say a raindrop, and then also making sure that enhancements can be considered to support any ongoing transformation opportunities.
Information is power in any aspect, I guess, of life. But you think about, let's talk about just kind of procurement, and procurement occupies that. I think a lot of people are kind of, maybe if they don't have awareness, but if they do, they're envious that you sit between where the data sits and the suppliers who you're spending that with. So be it direct or indirect spend, manufacturing, or just, hey, I need to buy some laptops for my marketing department today, right? So I have all this now. How do I get to ensure that I'm able to take all that data, create a successful project so it's actually delivering me value, right? What we call it at Raindrop is actionable intelligence. And that's where that kind of enviable position is, that, helping build those strategies, helping build those projects, delivering them successfully, that will take you from that, hey, I have a lot of kind of ERP data, or all different data from all these other places, and I have it now sitting inside of where I have this actionable intelligence I could create. I do need someone to help hold my hand to get me there and help me with that whole change piece. So yeah, I hope that gives a little insight into at least those are my thoughts on I guess procurement and change management and project delivery.
That's really good advice. Yeah, from my perspective, it's good to kind of maybe find a group that are open to change and kind of can be your own internal showcase account, if you will, or cheerleaders, before you go roll this out across the entire corporation. Even for a small company, it's like, hey, get some people that can be kind of the early adopters and build them into being a showcase account. And like you said, don't try to boil the ocean, but really to get quick wins, deliver some success, be able to show off that success. And it's kind of like, hey, this is what all the cool kids are doing. So we know how we go, and everybody should be doing this, because look what they were able to do and deliver in that.
One other thing that I found that is really important is really engaging the suppliers. So we talk about a lot internally about the end users and getting the group of people involved. Suppliers are inundated with customer requests all the time to transact through different procurement systems. And so I think it's really important to create a feedback mechanism through some sort of supplier relationship management efforts that support building stronger communications and collaboration opportunities. I mean, keeping in mind that they have, their jobs that they have to do, and they're fulfilling what is being requested. Who knows, maybe the supplier has an idea on how to be able to help streamline some processes, or with, through communication or some sort of integration. I think that's really important to also consider when you're thinking about implementations.
That's a phenomenal perspective, because I think all too often we do think about internally how it impacts our organization, but we're not actually looking outside. Yes, you're totally right. Matter of fact, I think kind of the ultimate compliment is when the supplier reaches out to you, says, you know what, I have a 360 peer review I have to do. Mr. and Mrs. Supplier, Mr. and Mrs. Internals, a procurement resource, would you be able to be that resource for me to give my team a 360 on me? And that means that they see you as a trusted advisor and a partner status. And I think when you kind of get to that, you are right. It's really, because the days of, I need to beat up on my supplier and go beat them on price, you can grind them down. You'll get the price you want, right? I always like to say, right, the last dollar is plus or minus worth more than $1. It just is up to you to determine what that's worth. And I think that if we get to that point where we say, you know what, partner, you're not internal, but also external, and we really put our words behind that and actually deliver upon it, I think delivers successful projects. So if when you partner with somebody, it's, I want to have a successful project, it's making sure that the supplier shares that vision with you. And then of course, right, the firm helping with the deployment and the strategies is helping to, connect those dots.
Totally agree with that. The times of the old days are long behind us. Partnerships and being customer of choice is really what's important.
I think the whole pandemic, when people realized, oh, you know what? Wow, I could pay a lot more because I got to get my product on the shelf, because guess what? Someone's going to pay more than me for it right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
And the other thing that's funny about technology and transformation is there's always that fear that maybe right, maybe not, but there's the fear that technology is going to take over your job, right? So when you talk about accounts payable and you talk about people in procurement, they're all worried about, oh, I can only work through a particular tool, but that's not the case. They have to realize that human interaction is always going to still be required, and that working through those relationships, creating a trusting and collaborative environment for both your end users and your suppliers is the only way you're going to be able to be more efficient in the future.
totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you can't automate everything. Although I will say, here in San Francisco, we have the robo taxis driving around. So it's pretty cool seeing a car with nobody in it driving around. So you never know.
We're just implementing those in downtown Orlando as well.
Yeah,
No,
first
both
couple times I saw an
coasts,
empty car driving, I thought that was pretty wild.
Well, fantastic, y'all. I really appreciate your time today, and I think the audience will appreciate your words of wisdom. So I do appreciate your help today, and we look forward to the next one in the future. Take care, y'all.
Outstanding. Thanks,
Thank
Tracy.
you for having me.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.